Well, hello there folks, and welcome back to the Chap's Guide, to another wonderful outdoor review. Now on this channel we talk about men's style, lifestyle tips, but very important are the reviews that we undertake. And today I'm going to be talking about a true icon of the men's fragrance world. That is of course the wonderful Tabac fragrance range, and they join me here today as my special guests. Now anybody who has watched my channel before will know that I am a really big advocate of shaving with a double-edged safety razor because of the wonderful benefits that it brings to a man, as well as imparting those skills and characteristics which chaps have always had over the passing of time. And I very much believe in keeping those wonderful traditions going on. Now, one of the beauties of double-edged safety shaving is of course the regime and the ritual that you put yourself through every day. And for me, the little reward which really comes from that process is applying a wonderful fragrance in form of the aftershave or the cologne that one uses at the end of the wet shave, which can have the power of heightening your mood and just starting your day off with a bang. As indeed I did today. I thoroughly enjoyed my shave this morning, and it lightened my mood, made me feel great for the day ahead. And the product that I used this morning in my shave was Tabac. And I've been using Tabac for very many years indeed, going back quite some time. Not quite as long as the fragrance has been with us though, because Tabac has been around since 1959, as it clearly says emblazoned on the bottle. And it's something which obviously the company which manufactures it are very proud of. Now it's made by a company called Moray and Wirtz, who have been around since 1845, and they're still operating, still under some form of family control in the Stolberg area in Germany. And as I say, they've had Tabac in their portfolio since 1959. They also make the other classic men's fragrance called 4711. It's also a product which I'm very fond of, and it is in my collection as well. And perhaps I will do a review on that product further down the line if we enjoy this sort of fragrance review. So the range has been around for quite some time, as I say, since 1959, where it started off with the fragrance. Today, there is quite a pleasant array of products, and only a very small amount of the grooming range of Tabac, which I have here with me on the table, and perhaps I'll talk about some of them in the fullness of time. But the real star of the show, of course, is the fragrance. And it's been described as the Brut or the Old Spice of Germany, because it occupies that space of relatively inexpensive, accessible fragrance for men of all ages. And we'll talk about where I think it sits in the pantheon of fragrances as we go along. But the important thing, I guess, is the fragrance itself, the smell, what it gives us, what it imparts. And let's talk about it. So here it is, and it remains in this classic bottle which looks exactly like it did when it was first released in 1959. And I think that's something that they're very fond of in the manufacturing process. But nothing can be a success if it smells bad, and when it comes to Tabac, fortunately it doesn't. And I'm trying to explain that fragrance to you just by taking the lid off and reminding myself of what it smells like. And it's unusual. I think Tabac is unique in many ways. Firstly, most importantly, the name suggests tobacco, and you've got that sort of smoky, masculine, leathery, woody fragrance in your mind even before you take the lid off. And I have to say, it does not smell of tobacco one iota to me at all. And it smells very floral. It smells very fragrant. And I have to say, on first smelling it, you would think it's a woman's fragrance. It has very floral undertones, very much flowery, outdoorsy, and it's quite an apt place to be testing it here in the outdoors, I guess. But yeah, not at all very masculine, not at all as it would suggest the very masculine sort of portrayal of it in many of its marketing products which come out from Moray and Wirtz, who tend to be very masculine in demeanour in the way that this is pushed out to us in the marketing world. For me, very fragrant. It smells very lavendery. It smells of vanilla, and you know, not at all what I was expecting. But there we go. My first encounter with Tabac starts, wow, way back 20 something years ago. I used to live in Germany. For 3 years I lived in Germany. I lived in a town called Gütersloh because I used to be in the British military, and at the time, the early 1990s, it was the end of the Cold War, and there was a huge amount of British military based in Germany. So I was based in Germany for 3 years of my 10-year military career. And I went back there many times, visited many times, and I encountered Tabac as a young man. I was only in my early 20s when I first went there. And as I say, it was financially accessible because I couldn't afford the expensive fragrances which one associates chapness with today. You know, that wasn't within my financial means. So I bought myself a bottle of Tabac upon arriving on the continent because I thought that's what people wore in that part of the world. And I found it quite strange. And if I was to describe it as a bit of a old man smell, I don't think I'd be far off how I would have interpreted this fragrance way back when I was in my early 20s. Of course, one of the things that you do when you're in sort of my stage of life, you don't just look for new things, you look back at things you've encountered in the past and try them again, because your tastes change. I know mine certainly have, and I would not have liked Tabac one iota when I was in my 20s, because it's not brash enough, it's not brutal enough. When I was young, I was wearing fragrances like Kuros and Escape by Calvin Klein, and these very pungent, powerful smells which announce your presence in the room immediately. Tabac doesn't do that. It is a subtle, almost discreet floral fragrance which is very, very sort of conservative in its nature. And now as I've become older, and now I acknowledge that many of those traits are entering my life. I'm 50 years of age, so you know, I'm not the brutal, powerful character that I used to be. I'm changing. I understand the importance of diplomacy and subtleness as I've become older, and my taste in fragrance has changed to that degree as well. And Tabac for me falls into that wonderful category of being quite subtle, quite floral, pleasant, clean fragrance, which I very much enjoy these days. So a little bit of zestiness there. I detect an element of bergamot or lime perhaps as well, and I'm very much attracted to that. You know, the two sort of families of fragrance I enjoy are quite woody and leathery, so very masculine in many ways, and also quite citrusy. And this kind of breaches those two areas. It's somewhere down the middle. It's not either particularly powerfully masculine or particularly zesty in a citrus sense. It's just that lovely, fragrant, pleasant smell, which I quite enjoy very much these days. Now, what I'm testing here today is only the aftershave, which I bought specifically about 3 weeks ago to reacquaint myself with Tabac. And the aftershave, of course, when we look at the potency of men's fragrances, is at the very bottom, typically less than 3% potency or active ingredient. When you look at, and Tabac is also available in eau de cologne and eau de toilette, so a little bit stronger, typically eau de cologne 5 to 10%, and eau de toilette a little bit more stronger than that again, up to 20%. So a bit more powerful if you were to source those. But because I particularly wanted to apply this after shaving, I went for the aftershave, which, as I say, is weaker than the other fragrances, but great for applying as a splash after one's had a shave, and that's why I chose this. And I find it a perfect fragrance actually, just for that aftershave splash on, just invigorating fragrance. So let me talk about my views really when it comes to the Tabac fragrance. When could you wear it? Well, I would say it's very much a summer fragrance. It's something which I would happily wear this time of year. It's June when I'm making this video, and very summery, very floral, very fragrant, ideal for this time of year. It's not overbearing, it's not overwhelming, and particularly in the aftershave variety, you know, you're not knocking people's noses off when you walk into a room, or if you are in an elevator with a group of other people, they're not going to be offended by this. It's not unpleasant. So summertime and very much, you know, that time of year, or the warm parts of the seasons in spring and autumn as well. I perhaps wouldn't wear this in the winter time, where I prefer to have a bit more strength to my fragrances. So, you know, very much light and airy and summery. What age would I wear this? Well, I've already said, you know, as a younger man in my 20s, I really wasn't attracted to this. I found it not strong enough, not powerful enough, not enough personality for me. Now I'm in my 50s, I really like it. So I would say 30 years of age and plus might be worth visiting the Tabac sort of world to see if it's something that would work for you. Time of day to wear it? Well, I would say any time really. It's not offensive. As I say, you're not going to knock people's noses off if you're stuck in a confined space with them. And similarly, I wouldn't wear it out in the evening perhaps, because if you're going out for an event, to a special occasion, you might want to wear something which is a bit more powerful, you know, that boosts your confidence and heightens your mood. Tabac isn't going to do that. It is an inoffensive background odor rather than something which is really vibrant and is announcing your personality in a group. So perhaps good for wearing in the daytime, perhaps not for special occasions. Masculine, I wouldn't say it's a particularly masculine fragrance at all. In fact, quite the opposite. This is for somebody who's comfortable with their masculinity, who doesn't feel the need to have to wear musky fragrances to underline the fact that they are an alpha male or a character, you know, a male character in the room. This is something for somebody perhaps who are not too worried about, you know, their own masculinity, because it's not a masculine fragrance. If anything, it borders on the feminine because of its floral nature. And bizarrely, I remember reading an article about the fragrance industry in Germany, and it was non-existent really up until the 1950s, late 1940s, because in Germany prior to that it was a very masculine dominated culture, and the men just used unscented soaps and things like that. Even feminine soaps and light fragrances. It wasn't until the arrival of American troops post-war, who brought with them their love of colognes and scented things, that it started to get going in Germany. Perhaps hence why Tabac didn't come into being until 1959. But as I say, you know, not particularly masculine. The silage and the longevity and the projection of this fragrance are towards the low end. You know, you can put this on, I'm talking about an aftershave here. Obviously, if I was up the scale of potency a bit and it was an eau de toilette, it might be a bit more long lasting. But certainly, if you apply this in the morning, within a couple of hours, you know, its vibrancy will have died away and it will be less active on your skin. So the aftershave, particularly within a short period of time, you know, it tapers off, and its longevity is short, I would say. Its projection, again, weak, because it's not, you know, filling the room with the fumes. It is a bit more subtle than that, and that is part of its delight, actually, when it comes to a Tabac. So there we go. That's my sort of assessment of it. That's my, you know, interpretation of how I've taken this fragrance. You have to remember that everybody's nose is different. Everybody's skin is different. The chemical composition is different on every person. The oils and the other things which make up your chemistry, your body chemistry. So for me, that's how I interpret it. If you use Tabac, you might find it entirely different in the way that it works within your skin. So worth trying, giving it a go. And the beauty of it is worth trying because it is very modestly priced. This bottle, 100 millilitres of aftershave, cost me less than 10 British pounds. And if you're on the continent, you'll find these in drugstores, chemists. They'll cost far less than that because it's, you know, it's indigenous to your marketplace. It's not found readily in stores and, you know, drugstores in the United Kingdom. Easily you know, achievable through places like Amazon, which is where I bought this, but not readily available in the local shops. If you're living elsewhere in the world, you'll also find it, I'm sure, easily available, perhaps more or less depending on the markets where you live. But either way, it's not expensive. I think it makes great value for the amount of money that we're talking about. And the beauty of the Tabac range is it is a range. There are many other products available. So if you like layering your products, so if you like to, for instance, shower in the same product that you're going to apply a fragrance later, Tabac makes an excellent shower gel or body wash, and modestly priced. This was 400 millilitres, cost me £8 off Amazon. I've been using it for a few days. I really like it. The fragrance is very true to the original Tabac fragrance, so it's very nice to layer. And as I say, I love shaving products, and I've tried both the Tabac shaving cream, which comes in a tube, but my actual favourite here in the range perhaps is the shaving stick, which is one of these types that you unscrew, and there's a block of shaving soap within that tube. You apply it to the bristles, then you go over it with a brush, and you get this wonderful, luxuriant shaving lather, which shaves wonderfully. And the proof is in the pudding. The fragrance is exactly like the Tabac Aftershave or the other men's fragrances, Eau de Cologne and Eau de Toilette. So it's great for layering, and this is excellent. I have to say, I've been very pleasantly surprised. I don't generally use shaving sticks much. I have used them, and I was a little bit reluctant. They're very modestly priced, that's why I bought it, £5 or so. But actually, I'm really taken by this, and it's definitely in my rotation, and it's a perfect tool for traveling, because it's not a liquid. You can pack it in your hand luggage if you're going abroad or flying anywhere, and it works great. And as I say, proof's in the pudding, it works a treat. So there we go. So my overall assessment: Tabac is a cheap but elegant fragrance, which really works for men if you enjoy subtle, delicate fragrances, and you're not worried about having some musky, masculine scent that you need to wear to make you feel a bit more dominant. This is something very different to that, and very different to its name, really. Tabac suggests something totally different to what you get when you smell this fragrance. So I like it. It's definitely going in my regular rotation, and although I've been using it for 2 weeks now to give it a trial run, it's definitely going to be staying there. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about it. Why don't you give it a try? For the price, you're not going to be crying into your shaving foam, even if you don't like it. Give it as a gift to somebody else, and you can't go wrong for such a small amount of money. So I hope you've enjoyed this review of the classic, iconic men's fragrance, which is Tabac, and I hope you consider giving it a go yourself. If you have enjoyed this review, please give me a thumbs up, and I would invite you to join us here at the Chaps Guide by clicking that subscribe button as well. That way you help the channel grow, and also you get to join us on our future journey through the world of chapness. And until the next time we meet here at the Chaps Guide, I hope you stay well, I hope you stay safe, being sharp and stylish as ever, and I will see you very soon.